Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Crusty podcast, episode 112 Alpha. Yes, coming up in the show, Buffoons in the Mist. Yes, the NDP and their National Convention talking points. Let's abolish the military and other UN mandates. And, of course, more political BS coming up. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Mama always said I had a face for radio.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. April 3rd. 2021, as I said in the headlines. Buffoonery in the Mist. Yes, my apologies out there. I had this episode loaded earlier, and for some reason I had some technical issues. And just a reminder that this is not meant for children, so listener discretion is advised. And if you like and hear what you see, please share, subscribe, and like. Share this around. More subscribers. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers, and share this around to help us independent folk get the words out there. So as I said, Buffoons in the Mist, yes. Coming up this week, or next week, sorry, the federal NDPs are having a virtual convention. And it was brought to my attention by a fan the other day when I did a live stream that the NDP is weighing the odds on abolishing the military. Now, I have some talking points here. I'll leave links in the description for you all to listen to and to admire at your own free will. But here's a couple of those points from Section 4 of resolutions from the NDP convention website or webpage there. So, page 41, military spending in Canada. Page 42, Canada out of NATO. And page 43, elimination of the Canadian Armed Forces. So I'll start this little spiel off with military spending in Canada. Now, the NDP, federal NDPs, basically come up with this conclusion and solution for said problems. So, military spending in Canada, whereas Canada has succumbed to U.S. pressure and is planning on expanding military spending by 70%, whereas Canada is committed to spending $70 billion on warships and $19 billion on fighter planes, whereas the COVID pandemic has exposed decades of underfunding to our social programs, resulting in greater inequality. They're really pushing this whole inequality thing, eh? You know, like I've said before in numerous episodes, the moment you disagree with an NDPer, you're either a misogynist, racist, sexist, homophobe, xenophobe, and anti-tree man. Oh my goodness. So here's the solutions to military spending that they have in Canada. Be it resolved that the NDP support the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, call for a global ceasefire to focus on our struggle to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic, oppose the Liberal government's planned national defense budget increases, and call for an immediate freeze in the expansion of military spending. It's just so unfair. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, here's my rebuttal. As a member of the armed forces, and as someone who's actually talked to some political leaders in regards to defense spending, and people that have sat on procurement boards, and fellow members of the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as some of those individuals that aren't here with us anymore today. God rest your souls, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, where does the NDP get off even tabling such thing? Now, of course, I highly doubt that they'll actually get in, get a lot of seats when they call the federal election. I highly doubt they're going to get any kind of power. But here's a national party that's had certain powers in the provinces. Ontario had the NDP government one time. Saskatchewan's had it. Manitoba's had it. Alberta's had it. Motley Notley. BC, of course, always has it. You know, I'm not saying all members and all people that live in British Columbia are lost under the veil of the NDP orange, but the majority of voters have been, which is kind of scary. You know, it's funny because I remember Thomas Mulcair and Jagmeet Singh 2 years ago, or 3 years ago for that matter, stating how the Liberals don't spend enough on our troops, don't look after veterans properly. And now they want to table a motion to stop military spending. Well, I digress. I'll go on. Page 42 states, Canada out of NATO, whereas the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and Canadian forces in Afghanistan engaged in propping up a U.S. puppet government of human rights abusers, drug traffickers, and warlords, wasting money and the lives to further a Western agenda of geopolitical power and plunder of resources. Okay. Well, what did the Soviet Empire do with resources? Okay. What did the old-fashioned communist model do with resources? Okay. They've exploited resources from nations they conquered, and they exploited the workers too. But the difference with Western exploitation and Soviet aficionado communist manifesto exploitation is that, at least in the West, men and women get fucking paid. And there's a purpose, and there's opportunities. Okay? Now, I admit democracy is not the most perfect solution to some of you kids out there, but it's a hell of a lot better than someone having a boot to your goddamn neck. Okay? Now, here's the solution to Canada out of NATO. Be it resolved that, therefore, be it resolved that the NDP actively campaign to get Canada out of NATO, to get NATO out of Afghanistan, to remove the NATO nuclear ring around Russian borders, and to disengage Canadian forces from any support role for the U.S. and its client regimes around the world. Okay. Well, Canadian forces right now don't have a pot to piss in. Okay. And there was more money going to the Canadian military when Canada was involved in Afghanistan, because Canada did a lot of fucking good jobs there. I know, because I've seen them get done. And a few of my friends saw them get done. And a few of those friends have friends that are not here with us anymore. So blow it out your ass, Big Orange. Right? You're fucking wrong. Dead fucking wrong. All right? Page 43. Elimination of the Canadian Armed Forces. Here's the meat and potatoes of the title, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas militaries and war have devastatingly negative impacts on civilian populations, including needless deaths, bodily injury, and the loss of housing. Militaries and war are a historic institution with no place in a modern society. In a world with a globalized, quote unquote, in a world with a globalized economy, traditional militaries are becoming increasingly unnecessary. Says who? Other countries such as Costa Rica, Iceland, Samoa, Panama have abolished their armies. Well, look at Costa Rica. As far as I know, they have a security force. Iceland still has a security force. Samoa, excuse me, as far as I know, is a protectorate in the United States. And Panama still has some kind of security force. Okay? But Panama roughly has a population of just under, I think, 4 million people. But needless to say, they are protected by somebody or someone. Cue the drama music. Anyway, here's their solutions to elimination of the Canadian Armed Forces. Be it resolved that, therefore, be it resolved that the NDP government will commit to phasing out of the Canadian Armed Forces. Be it further resolved that all members of the Canadian Armed Forces will be retrained at the expense of the federal government. Oh, great, more payola. Into civil service roles that help expand Canadian, provincial, and municipal social services, such as expanded healthcare, education, community service, public transit, and parks. Parks, great. You can be a forest ranger. Yay! Be it further resolved that all members of the Canadian Armed Forces continue to receive full salaries and benefits until they assume their new jobs in the civil service. Well, isn't that just fucking utopic, eh? Wow, isn't that just great? So here's a federal party that's gaining some traction. Now, they've gained some traction over the years. Okay. And they actually get the spotlight, and they've managed to raise $7.7 million for their next campaign. Oh, hunky-dory kumbaya. Oh, turkeys, lions, and bears. Oh, my goodness. And yet, that's the viable solutions they have. That's what they're bringing to their table, ladies and gentlemen. Just like I keep saying, crack don't smoke itself.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, carrying on with episode 112, Alpha. Buffoons in the Mist. Yes, I just mentioned the big spiel there. Now, there's more information on their great big plans, what they're going to have with their virtual convention, what have you. I know the Liberals going to have a convention. You see them on Twitter. Their feed is just lighting up with great virtue signaling and all this wonderful stuff that's going to save the world based on the Canadian taxpayer. Okay? Now, both of these parties have scratched each other's back since 2015. Okay? Little Jagmeet Singh, little slap and tickle here. Justin Trudeau, little slap and tickle there. A little bit of pirouette. No one leaves baby in the corner. Except for those fucking clowns that want to leave the taxpayers in the corner, freezing in the cold, paying more money for carbon, even though carbon is plant food, but they don't see it that way. Oh my God, the world's warming up. We're going to stop fossil fuels. Yes, of course. Yeah. And they want to table this motion too. So it's amazing. What I need you, my listeners out there, to get out and write. And if anybody that's listening to this podcast that has an NDP member of parliament, give them proper shit for even considering something like that. Or even sitting in a room and having a conversation on how they can dismantle one of Canada's noblest institutions. Okay? By legislating any kind of information like that, or legislating anything like that at all. It doesn't matter if it's provincial or federal. Okay? Not only is it an insult to the serving members of today's armed forces, okay? It's an insult to the veterans of Afghanistan, like yours truly, and some dear friends of mine, and those individuals not here with us today. It's also an insult to the actual peacekeepers that actually signed up, did a job in the name of the UN, United Nations, because we all know how much the NDP and the Liberals love their United Nations. I got to get me some of them blue circles. Oh my goodness, they're so delicious. Yay. And they're dishonoring the memories and the members that served during those peacekeeping years, from Cyprus, to the Balkans, to other missions in Africa, right? Not only are they insulting the Afghan veterans, the peacekeepers of before, the Cold War veterans too, that stood against the possible Soviet onslaught during those Cold War years, correction. They're also insulting the memory of those members that sacrificed their lives in Korea. Kapyong, Battle of Kapyong especially, and other battles. And they're insulting the memory of my grandparents that served during World War II. And some other distant relatives that served during the First World War. So here these clowns want to talk about Canadians, and they want to put military guys in this role and that role, and okay, well, you're still going to get paid benefits till we find this job for you. So we all seen how the Notley NDP have found jobs for people. We've all seen how Mr. Horgan in BC found jobs for people. We all seen how Bob Ray fucking did it back in the 80s trying to find jobs for people, right? So a lot of these guys can be sitting their hands waiting a long fucking time to find an adequate job to fill in the void. Now, to say hypothetically, if this legislation ever came to pass, okay? Now, I'm being very skeptical here, and I'm doing the what-if scenario. There's no doubt in my mind that the NDP will never be in charge of this country. Let us hope, right? Let us hope it doesn't happen. Anyhow, here's a word from my sponsors.
In October of 2015, Lindsay Robbins, like many of her fellow Canadians, was struggling with the turmoil of mental illness. The ups and downs of what she was going through was shaping her realities, and she longed for structure. As luck would have it, that structure presented itself to her in the form of gardening. And through gardening, Lindsay had an awakening that led her to create Produce for Heroes. Lindsay realized that our veterans were going through their own mental struggles, and through her own experience, she realized the power of community. By desiring to help the way that she had been helped, she has created a program that provides relief to veterans. Her food program, which aims to provide veterans and their families relief from the stresses of food insecurity and help alleviate the cost of living for those that have sacrificed so much for their country. Whether it's through directly contacting Produce for Heroes or through a friend's referral, all veterans and their families living in Canada are welcome. By shining a light on the struggle of veterans and their families, Lindsay is hoping to get her fellow Canadians to hop on board and support Produce for Heroes and our great veterans. If you or a veteran you know needs help, ProduceForHeroes.com is a great place to start.
This is Brian Boucher, the new CEO of Canuck Gold Corp. We have gold at 99% purity with discounts ranging from $100 up to $200 off the ounce. This is the right place to buy, from 2-gram cards to 400-ounce bricks. We have any quantity of gold you are looking for. We also sell by the ton, not like your ex-wife. Visit us today at canudgold.com, C-A-N-U-N-D gold.com.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, back at you. Buffoons in the Mist, Crusty Canuck episode 112 Alpha. Yes, episode 112, part Alpha. I had some technical issues with the first upload. However, I'm trying to rectify them as best I can, and therefore I have to do the whole episode all over again. But no worries, no harm. You know, the fans out there that listened to the first 8.5 minutes that was allowed to be downloaded, my apologies. Anyway, let's hope this episode goes full bore. Anyway, carrying on again with more Buffoons in the Mist. Like I said, the NDP aficionados, it's amazing how these people especially the federal NDPs, just like the federal Liberals and the Conservatives and Greens and Independents and so-called know-it-alls, great eyes of the universe as we see it, or like how they portray themselves to be, have all this time to sit around and come up with ideas on how to screw the economy over again. Now, my questions are the following. If anybody who listens to this show, okay, and has or knows somebody who's an NDP supporter, doesn't matter if it's provincial or federal, really ask them why they think tiki tortures are racist. And then ask them why this kind of idea is put on the table in regards to dismantling our military. Because we all know that the military has not been treated fairly since roughly 1968 under the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Liberals, okay? Even under Joe Clark's Conservatives in the late 70s, even Pierre Elliott Trudeau in the early 80s, and even Brian Mulroney in the 80s there too. Now, there was F-18s bought, okay, that modernized our Air Force at the time, okay, and some upgrades to our ships. But from around roughly 1986 to about maybe 1998, there was a lot of darkness, okay? A lot of darkness in regards to defense spending, shutting down Germany, right? The logistics nightmare that went into that. And not to mention the pay freezes and the really lackluster of spending that went to our military those decades. And what gets me too is that a lot of people that I served with were in the Balkans in the early 90s and up until 1998. And they have stories about the pay freezes and the misspending and the misappropriate funds that were given to senior officials and senior public officials and politicians alike, rather than actually giving it to the troops. So there's a whole can of worms when it comes to defense spending in this country, ladies and gentlemen. And a lot of people from all parties have had their dirty fucking hands in it too.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, episode 112 Alpha, a little part 2 issue going on. There were some technical issues I had before my first upload. Anyway, carrying on. Buffoons in the Mist, which is also going to bring me to the whole self-defense issue in this country. Now, a lot of people are worrying about the whole mask issue and more vaccines, and now they're worried about the young, so the mainstream media likes to tell us. But there's still no right to defend yourself in this country for some reason. Now, the Western Standard wrote a great story in regards to that, especially all the people that have had to try to defend themselves over the years in regards to people breaking and entering, trying to steal their property, stealing their pets, people just minding their business, and then having to deal with thuggery on the outside. And the amount lackluster approach to justice when it comes to people wanting to defend their livelihoods. Now, I'm not going to get into great details in regards to the injustices, but I'll leave a link from the Western Standard. It tells a great story in regards to how the justice system has failed the average Canadian in regards to self-defense. And there are some good stories in there. There are some bad stories in there, especially with some people that have been run through the whole ringer in justice when it comes to anyone defending his or her property. There was a couple in Okotoks a few years back that gave a warning shot to would-be burglars. And one of those burglars received a wound from a ricochet from said warning shot. The funny thing is this fucking burglar had the audacity to try to turn around and sue this clown, or sue the family for what happened. So that clown was basically told where to go by the court of law, luckily. But it's just the principle of everything being dragged through the courts all in the name of self-defense, And it goes to prove that C-22, that bill that goes along with C-21, where they're going to ban all these guns in airsoft, but then if you're caught doing something illegal with an illegal handgun, then everything is just A-okay. So it just goes to show that the priorities in most leadership in this country, especially when it comes to the judicial system, backing up certain politicians, backing up certain groups and certain ideologues, are not really looking at the actual justice of something. Now, we don't have a Second Amendment in Canada, okay? And as far as I know in the criminal code, you are allowed to defend yourself force with force, i.e., if your potential burglar breaks into your house and he or she has a bat, you're allowed to use a bat to defend yourself, right? If he or she has a gun, he or she takes a shot at you, you're allowed to take a shot at them. But even if that happened to the exact description I just gave you, okay, you would still probably be arrested and still be charged right? And then you have to wait for your day in court to prove your innocence, right? And 9 times out of 10, innocence has been proven, but you could sit in jail for a month, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, like the poor bastard out in Collingwood there, right? Who stopped 2 thugs from robbing him, right? And then the cost, too. Now, he had a great defense team. And I'm not saying there's lawyers in this country that are, all of them are inept or foolish, but it costs quite a bit of money to get proper defense and to have the privilege of having defense attorneys that are willing to cover your ass and help you win your case, especially when it comes to our constitutional rights to stand up for yourself. Okay? So I'll leave a link there for you all to listen, or not to listen, to read and judge for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a day and age now where you can't even go outside and protest, even though you're allowed to protest under our charter, but it takes appointed officials to sit there and try to make up laws and regulations for you to follow. How is that? This is exactly the model that the NDP and the Liberal diehards want, right? And what's it sizing us up for? Let's herd us into one big conglomerate. Let's herd us into one stockyard so we all comply and understand that UBI is a good thing and carbon tax is a great thing, and spending more money on things that we don't need, like expensive trips and rendezvous with politicians. That's always a good thing. Defunding our oil platforms, defunding our energy sectors, trying to make people feel guilty and ashamed of themselves because of the color of their skin. Constantly throwing the racist mandate around like it's God's gift of currency. When we all know the truth here, there's a division going on and we must stop it. Okay? And regardless if the NDP is making up this legislature and have these keen talking points and trying to find their utopia, or how the Liberals are trying to rally everybody and keep telling us that, the more you put your finger in the socket, the more it's a good thing, or even some of the Conservatives who failed to really debate these clowns in Parliament and keep them on their toes. Now, I'm not saying all the Conservatives and all the opposition, but there's only a few that have been really, really vocal. And I'm a little concerned, especially for my Conservative friends out there who believe entirely in the Conservative mandate. Okay? And just a reminder there, too, ladies and gentlemen, not every Conservative is a racist, and not every Liberal is a commie. All right? I've had some great conversations the past couple of weeks with some diehard Liberals who are totally against Justin Trudeau's mandates, who are totally against the pay raises, who are totally against what they see in front of them. Right? And I'd like to remind my listeners, too, that not every political party out there is terrible and mean, right? Freedom of expression is allowed, right? But if they put this stuff public, then we're allowed to criticize it, are we not? Isn't that the idea? You get into public office and promote something, it's opened up to scrutiny and suggestion and criticism. Is that not how it works? Or do our new politicians and politician wannabes don't like that mandate because they deserve to be comfortable for the price of $180,000 or more a year, thanks to that new fucking raise?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please consider donating too. All you got to do is click on the link, and it takes you right to my webpage where the donation heading is, and you donate anything you like. Please, I'd like to make this a full-time commitment. I need your help, my listeners. Please consider donating today, whether it be $2, $5, $6, one lump sum, or on a monthly basis. And please consider checking out my shop, customizedgirl.com/s/Crusty Canuck. I've got t-shirts, I got hats, I got stickers, I got mugs. I got lots of goodies there with the Crusty Canuck logo. Support the Crusty Canuck podcast today, please. Summertime is coming, so get your favorite lady there a Crusty Canuck swimsuit, or get yourself a nice pair of patriotic shorts and wear them proudly. Wear them proudly, ladies and gentlemen. And please consider, too, joining us every Sunday or Holiday Monday for the Hidden Gem live stream, which is hosted by Adam Daniel Mazzei, Canadian actor, director, writer, producer, all-around great guy, and one of Canada's newest favorite sons. So please check out the Hidden Gem live stream. You go live every Sunday at 4 p.m. I believe the show is going to go this Monday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 6 p.m. Eastern. Please check us out. There's usually about 6 or 7 of us who sit in a panel, and we just discuss social life, politics, the economy, and just some really stupid things that politicians and leaders have said during that week or time. So please join us on the Hidden Gem live stream. And I want to thank Fred Stockman for coming out to the Thursday fastball there last Thursday. Check out his podcast too, ladies and gentlemen. You can find Fred Stockman at Anchor FM. Just Anchor FM, go to Fred Stockman. It's quite the inquisitive young man, blue-collar worker, common sense. We've had a couple debates off the record on issues, but check out his work. It's really legit and pretty straightforward and pretty well good to go. He's a Kiwi American living in Massachusetts. He's got a lot to say and a lot to offer. So please check out his work too. And the rest of us, give us independent folk a like and try too. Please share, subscribe, and like. Give me a thumbs up there in the comments and pass this stuff around. Keep the independent algorithm going and alive so people can get their own insight and possibly promote their own product too. So the more you help guys like me and the above mentioned or the previous mentioned, the more things are probably going to work out in the long run. I like to say there is light in the end of the tunnel, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to promote it. We got to keep digging for it. So anyway, moving on. Buffoons in the Mist. You've heard me rant on about Justin Trudeau and his potato politics, as well as Krista Freeland, the pint-sized you-know-what. And, of course, Miss Elizabeth May, have another fucking Scotch Elizabeth, flying around an airplane saying that she wants to abolish oil, but she got herself an award there last episode for the polar vortex of bullshit, which is bringing me to this episode's recipient of the
Canadian polar vortex of bullshit.
And without really thinking about it too hard, ladies and gentlemen, the past 24 hours, yes, I try to dedicate at least a good 24 hours of good thought on who deserves the polar vortex of Canadian bullshit this time. And the winner of this episode's Canadian polar vortex of bullshit is... Wait for it. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Canadian polar vortex of bullshit goes to none other than the federal NDP party. What? I said the federal NDP party.
The Canadian polar vortex of bullshit.
Exactly. To the federal NDPs. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to finish up the show. Just a few more tidbits here. We can see the weather's changing. People are coming outside, which is good. We need more of that. We need more people to be outside, more trade and commerce. Open up the stores, get the economy going again. Okay? And to my listeners out there, please, if you know anybody, or if you're actually in a riding with an NDP candidate, please give them a call. Tell them how you feel. Show them the link that I'm going to be posting in my description in regards to some of their talking points for the whole virtual conference they're going to have. Right? These are people that want to govern Canada that way. Okay? They don't want freedom of choice. They don't want freedom of expression. Obviously what I just read to you basically means they're union-based and they're trying to fight for a utopia when they should be fighting for a better fucking reality. Right? They should be fighting for the guys who want a job in this country. And that's all colors and creeds. It has nothing to do with if they come from this area or come from that area, or if they represent this, represent that. It's a matter of Canadians being Canadians. Canadian citizens need to be looked after too, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell all parties that. Okay? And maybe in a way I'm kind of, subliminally, maybe I might be campaigning. I don't know. I'm not campaigning. But here are my thoughts on that. Keep the borders open, but make sure the borders are done legally. Okay? Let airplanes fly into Canada. Let people leave. Let people travel. Okay? Let the stores open up. Sure, keep the mask mandate up. But let the stores open up. Okay? Or, if you want to save the economy, then some of these big wigs and know-it-alls, i.e. these big health officials and of course, the brand new pay that went to the MPs this past week, cut it off. In fact, I would say 30% cut all the way down. Plus 30% cut on the perks and the privileges. That means no more fucking limo rides, no more private planes or first-class tickets. You're representing a constituency. Doesn't matter what party you're in. Doesn't matter if you have 2,500 people in your riding. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 people in your riding. Come down to earth with the rest of us there, kiddies. Okay? I don't care if you're CPC. I don't care if you're LPC. I don't care if you're NDP. I don't care if you're Green. I don't care if you're Independent. I don't care if you're Les Blocs. Fucking start earning your pay. Start doing something. Okay? That's one of the platforms we have in the VCP, ladies and gentlemen. As a member of the Veterans Coalition Party, I am a strong believer in cutting MPs' pay. Okay? And it's not a matter of them, what's going to get done if you do that? Oh my God, Crusty Canuck, how dare you? How dare me? How dare you give yourselves another fucking raise when things are closed up and shut down? How dare you give yourselves a pat in the back for a job well done when you haven't done the job yet? How dare you even stand in Parliament and agree to a pay raise? Okay? That's what I'm going to say to every one of them. It has nothing to do with how I feel about your speech or this guy's speech or this gal's speech or where you stand on this or where you stand on that. Why did you all agree to another fucking pay raise? When things are going to shit. Right? $183,000 and then some as a base salary, not good enough for you? Jesus Christ, there are Canadians trying to make way with $49,000 a year. And there you are, sitting there, eyeing your fucking horse. And I don't care what educational background you have. I don't care how many years you've sat in Parliament. I don't care if this is your first term or your fourth term or your seventh term. Shame on y'all. Really? Right? Shame on y'all. That's one of the talking points we're going to have. You know, when I start trying to win my seat in Canadian Parliament. Now, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead here, but that's one of the speaking points that I have. Cutting the pay. If you can't do your job as a member of Parliament for, let's say, $125,000 a year, I think there's something wrong. Honestly, I think there is something wrong there, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Secondly, too, proper funding to the military. Proper funding to the First Nations when it comes to getting water sorted out. Proper funding and proper thought process, proper round tables, proper discussions when it comes to the so-called environmental issues, right? Meaning we're not going to touch with fossil fuel. We're firm believers in looking after the environment. We're also firm believers in finding innovations, trying to find ways where people can be self-sufficient without having to rely on the grid at all times, without having to rely on the government handout or the government proposed UBI or the notional teat that so many people want to get their hands on because, well, I don't have to do anything. The government can look after me. How well did that work in the Soviet Union? How well did that work in China? How well did that work in Cuba? How well is that working right now? Because if that socialist model is such a great fucking concept, why is there no people, or why is there not a lot of people in droves trying to get their asses in?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, on this beautiful April evening, April 3rd, so my wife and I were going to have a nice little barbecue tomorrow. We're going to have a few neighbors over, have a few laughs, maybe a couple of drinks. Like I said, I don't drink as much as I used to. So I went and bought myself some of that near beerish kind of stuff. It's like so many carbs with 2% or 3% alcohol. Anyway, it's like a light beer, but not so light, but it's not so alcoholic per se. Anyway, make a long story short, I actually miss the taste of beer sometimes. So I went and I treated myself to a 6-pack of this low carb beer. So I'm not doing any modeling anytime soon. So that's not the reason why I got it. The reason why I got it is because I don't drink like I used to. No need for me to do it. I'm not hiding my demons. I try to expose them, try to get them out in the world and slay them properly without downing them in, or dousing them in fucking pity juice or alcohol. But like I've said, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of buffoons in the mist, right? And please, if you don't like the meme I'm using, please write me a detailed explanation to why you don't like it. You know, whether you do it on my YouTube page or my Facebook page, please tell me why. Because I know the last couple of memes I've put up, I really upset a few people. Oh my goodness, how dare you do this? Oh, how dare you treat Justin Trudeau looking like he's some kind of gay porn star? Well, maybe he is, and that's his business, but I don't care. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've got buffoons in the mist. And there's going to be hints of a federal election coming soon. So prepare yourself. Prepare yourself to ask the tough questions. Prepare yourself to do what's right. Okay? Prepare yourself to get things done. Prepare yourself to put these politicians on the spot. Ask them the tough questions. And if they give you a word salad, then demand an answer. Because they really work for us, regardless if it's a Republican system or the parliamentary system. Your representatives and yours truly should be working for you. Really. And to people into my riding Crowfoot and Battle River, if you're happening to listen to this, please contact me on the Facebook page. John Irwin, Crowfoot Battle River, VCP. Look for it on Facebook. If not, I'll leave a link there in the description for you to follow. And ask me a tough question, and I'll do my best to give you an honest answer. Right? But for those others who have the big wigs in Parliament right now, do the same thing. Get on their fucking toes. Get on them. And if you got to point your finger and raise your voice, so be it. Just don't stomp your feet and try to be a climate Barbie about it, too. We know how that worked out, right? The tune of $400 million gone missing. But she wants to make bike paths. Yay. And I can think of $400 million and 400 million reasons why that money can go elsewhere to do some proper good, like the First Nations water, our veterans, and our seniors. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 3rd of April, 2021. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones and do what you can to help each other out to the best of your ability. And we have to stay in tune with what's going on. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But do what we can to help our neighbors and our friends out and do the best we can to be the best Canadians on the planet. Like I say, look after your friends and loved ones. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
Join the Liberal Party of Canada. We'll tell you what to think, what to do, how to wipe, how to pick your nose, all in the name of safety.
Join today's NDP. We'll keep moving the goalposts. You don't walk the line for us, we'll call you racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, homophobic. We look for racism in everything. Please, join the NDP today. And subscribe and donate. Please, walk our line. Thank you. Mama always said I had a face for radio.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.